My name is Mohammed Inab. I'm part of the pre-sales team for the Middle East in Nextthink. I'm going to present this webinar, which is going to be for the upcoming 45 minutes from now on. Just a little bit about Nextthink. Nextthink is a Swiss company which is hosted in Lausanne city in Switzerland, and we were in operation in the worldwide for about 10 years right now. And this webinar actually is one of the first webinars for Exceed, and we have another 2 webinars for the upcoming dates. As you can see in the bottom right, you can see a Gartner cool vendor, as Nextthink is one of the cool vendors as listed by Gartner, and that's reflecting our unique perspective of tackling the IT operation analytics as we are going to tackle it during the webinar sessions. I know everyone has attended any security presentation nowadays have seen something like that. That something is wrong. Attacks all over the world. Sony being attacked, Saudi Aramco two years back, Home Depot the last year. A lot of attacks, regardless of the scale and the focus, is being rising every day. Although I hate that I start every security presentation by something that's everyone is against us and everyone is heading into our organization, but the fact is there's something wrong. We have a lot of attacks. We have a lot of targeted attacks. Malware is rising every day. WebSense, for example, is saying that we are analyzing every year 500 unique malwares, million unique malwares, which is pretty much a lot in terms of malwares. That's only for WebSense, not to take Semantic and other security vendors aside. So there is something wrong. And actually, when we say something wrong, we have to get back to the basics. And I mean here, if we look at our infrastructure in our day-to-day operation, we can see that our infrastructure is mainly consisted of 3 components: the server side, the network or the infrastructure, and the desktop side. And as you can see, and I believe everyone started his career in security as security officer or security professional, he heard this word, that security is a business enabler. We are really a critical business enabler, and we are here to make the business people who are sitting on the critical area of the infrastructure, which is the desktop, to be able to operate. The security professionals are not here to build firewalls and IPS, although that's part of their function, but they are here to make the end users be able to operate and operate securely. So as you can see, the nature of the infrastructure or the server side or the data center side somehow is stable and controlled. We have multiple controls, multiple security controls in between the layers of the network or the server. We can see what's happening there if one server gets infected, if one network device is disconnected from our servers. We can know what's happening there as we are monitoring that in real time. And that's nice. That's actually what we need. But when you look at the other area of the infrastructure, which is the desktop side, where the business users are sitting on, where the business users you are going to, or you want to ensure their operation in a secure way, the nature of the desktop side is very, very dynamic. A lot of operating system is happening there, a lot of application, not to mention that users are asking every day for admin privilege to be given to them. We cannot verify if their admin privilege is required or not. And even if we give them the admin privilege, we don't know how they are going to use the admin privilege to access our critical infrastructure in the back end in terms of network or the server side. And in the same day, it's very complex. A lot of security protection tools we are trying to put in there. Antivirus tools, HIPS, HIDS, network admission controls, data leakage preventions, and we are trying to see the people themselves as an attack, as long as they are our asset. Sometimes they are helping in the attack itself as the people side. But what we have in terms of visibility right now in our organization, when it comes to the desktop side where the business users are sitting, is only policy logs. we can see what the users are accessing, but we don't have a full access or a full visibility about how the users are behaving, and that's actually affecting the security from one way or another. Given that we have a lot of security threats that's rising, and especially from inside, that given that we have a very good perimeter controls, most of the security controls happening from inside, and a lot of security threats and malwares is starting from inside. And if you can see the Aramco attack or the Sony attacks is all started by targeting the people and the people who are sitting on their desktop. Not to mention the performance and support budget is being spent at the desktop side. So the desktop area, actually, to be honest with you, is very, very challenging. And if we look at the endpoint area and the features or the properties of the endpoint area, as I said before, it's big. We have a massive lot. We have thousands of desktops are connected. We need to get sure that these desktops are secure and operating securely, and they can access our business in the back end in a very secure way. At the same time, it's very complex and dynamic, as I mentioned before. A lot of operating system, a lot of applications, a lot of executions and connection from different versions of the same application. A lot of servers in the back end, we don't know if these users are accessing, who's accessing what in our infrastructure, by which application, in which port number. And the clever and privileged users now are being clever and being able to leverage their privilege every day. And one of the statistics, important one actually released by Microsoft last year, that if we can able to control the clever or privileged end users, we can reduce 97% of Patch Tuesday or Microsoft vulnerabilities that's happening every week. And you can imagine how much you will take off your shoulders if you can manage the clever and privileged end users that's being used every day. And for sure, the market is targeting us to have antivirus, have DLP, have HIPS, network admission control, and you name it. A lot of protection tools we are targeting into our infrastructure. And for sure, you are going for a regulation compliance like the ISO, like the PCI. You are going to ensure that your endpoints at the end of the day doesn't sacrifice your compliance in terms of ISO, as I mentioned, or the PCI DSS. And what makes the story more challenging, you have to manage all these endpoints. You have to manage it from security perspective, and you have to manage it from other departments' perspective. For example, support ticket is being opened, that some traffic is being circulated over the network, and you find at the end of the day, it's a malware. So this day-to-day management and monitoring is making the nature of the endpoint is very, very complex. And actually, if you look at the attacks that's happening every day, in many cases, and actually in most of the cases, if you look at the Sony attack, the spear phishing attack. If you look at the Aramco attack, for example, it's a USB flash memory being used initially at one of the endpoints. Because the attacker actually, when they are trying to attack any organization, either in a targeted attack or non-targeted attack, they get sure that the security officers doesn't have enough visibility at the endpoint side. That's why they target the least secure area of the infrastructure, and they don't try to start by their target, which is their servers or their application server at the back end. So they start by the end users and the workstation that's connected into the organization itself. And from that, they start to communicate with the attacker over a command and control server. And one thing here to mention that's about all the attacks that are happening and targeting the end users over a command and control server. They found out with one of the statistics that some attacks is happening to be there for about 1 month. And the security department doesn't know if the malware is there or not. A connection is going on from the organization in and out, execution is happening in and out, and we don't know that this malware is there. They are stealing information and doing unauthorized actions every day, and we don't know that's happening because we don't have visibility at the endpoint side. And then, at the end of the day, they do peer-to-peer connection, whatever the mechanism is at the end of the day, their target is to make all our infrastructure down for whatever reason is, but at the end of the day, to make the bad guys would like to own the network and harvest whatever the data and the critical information from the infrastructure. And remember here, everything starts by the endpoint. So another challenge that we are facing, the suspicious behavior, and actually the suspicious behavior happening at the endpoint in terms of execution of non-compliant application and from paths like the removable drive paths, USB flash memory, or the CD, DVD driving being used every day by the users, and the users are trying to bypass the controls that's being done to prevent them to use the USB flash memory every day to execute an application. Or the users are trying to scan the network, or the user themselves or the attacker himself to trying to scan to harvest credentials or whatever reason is, or trying to access application bypassing the proxy. Whatever suspicious behaviors are being done in our infrastructure, that makes the management and the case of the endpoint more critical. But actually what we have right now, and I would call it the root cause of the problem. The root cause of the problem that we don't have enough visibility. The visibility or the lack of visibility that makes us, we cannot see what's happening at the endpoint. The endpoint for us, it becomes like a black box, and think about it like you have 1,000 of black boxes connected to your infrastructure. You don't know what's happening there. A lot of logs is coming from these black boxes, and we don't know what's happening, and that's why eventually we cannot secure it. So our objective actually to turn that into the other side. We need to have more visibility. We need to know what's happening there, and eventually we need to plan our security planning inside our infrastructure to see what's happening. And here I will show you one analogy, and I believe, I don't know if you see it before or not, but this one actually explains our situation in security in a very simple manner. As you can see, and I believe most of the people are seeing this picture are laughing right now. How can we design something like that? How someone is designing a parking with a parking gate, and he's not aware about some people, they can cross their cars by passing the parking gate or the control that the user is happening. But actually that's the situation we have right now. Maybe the picture is clear because you have a clear picture, but the endpoint side, we don't have visibility. That's why we cannot see such a bypass is happening here. So to make the analogy more working for you, if you think about the parking gate as a security solution that you are implementing inside your endpoint, like the antivirus or the IPS. Security solution is always there, and you would need to configure it, or you need to build some procedures about it, some processes, some policy, how it should operate, how it should prevent. But at the end of the day, you will always have that. You will always have a misbehavior happening either from the user side or the application side. That's always happening. And because we don't have visibility, we cannot see the visibility, I mean here at the endpoint side, we cannot see the user behavior or the misbehavior and the application misbehavior in our case. It's worth actually to mention that some organizations, they are trying to build another parking gate here by employing another security solution inside the organization, which is something good. But at the end of the day, you will have some complexity problem inside the organization. So at the end of the day, we don't need to be a complex when it comes to security, as complexity is one of the enemies of security, but we need to be more simple, to have more visibility, to be able to see the user and the application behavior regardless of what's happening at the endpoint side. So if I can summarize the challenge actually we have attacks. The attacks is being rising. It's bypassing our traditional defenses. Worth to mention the antivirus, as Semantic is saying, that the antivirus is no longer able to defend the attacks that's happening every day. We don't have enough visibility, and we have a very complex environment to secure, like the endpoint. And actually, this challenge can be resolved actually. And this picture that you can see it here, you can actually recognize that's a little bit old. And this actually is the start of Nexthink. Nexthink, it started as a visibility platform to have a permanent and real-time analytics at the endpoint side. And by that, I can answer these simple questions: who is accessing, with what, from where, how, when, to where. And these simple questions, if I'm able to answer it, or part of it, if I'm able to answer it, I will be able to have a more visibility at the endpoint, and I'll be able to see the attacks that's happening at the endpoint every day. So let me give you an example to make the idea or the concept of Nexthink more mature at your inside. The graph that you can see here is a graph of the network monitoring tool at one of our customers. Actually, we were visiting that customer at that day, and we found a very interesting thing. We found at the NOC team, we found a very massive traffic happening at Monday morning at one of their critical servers in the infrastructure. And actually, the CIO was passing by the NOC team. And he told them, guys, I would like to know an answer for F simple questions. I would like to know quickly, maybe this one is an attack that's happening and targeting our operation and targeting our organization. I would like to stop it before it's being spread into my network. I would like to know the machines who are generating such a traffic. I would like to know the account being used for that. Is it a local account? Is it a domain account? What privilege of this account? Is it an account we created and approved from our side or not? I would like to know the application being used for that, which executable file, which version, from which path is being executed. And I would like to know the port number is being used for that. And at the end of the day, I would like to see the destination or other destination that they have the same issue and we don't know about them. And actually, the team said to the CIO, these 5 questions are very simple, and actually we need to collect it from different solutions inside our organization and give us actually like 8 hours or 1 day. I would like to collect all these answers. And you cannot imagine actually in 1 minute or 5 minutes the attack can spread over our infrastructure, and our infrastructure, it doesn't take 5 minutes or doesn't have 5 minutes or more than 5 minutes actually to be down. So what Nexthink is providing, and as you can see here, it's a snapshot from what we did at that account. As in very simple manner, in a very one-click, real-time alerting, we can see that Nexthink fired an alert by itself, saying that one desktop used by a system activity is not a user activity, he is a system activity, using an executable file called svchost.exe, as you can see it here, and over a port number 80 TCP, which is normally opened from our firewalls, and targeting this application server in the back end. And as you can see here, the path of the traffic from end to end. We have now a more visibility about the desktop, the user who are sitting on this desktop, or the other users who are operating on the same desktop. I know the application or the other application being used, but in this case, we have the executable file, which is called svchost.exe, and we have the port number 80, and at the end of the day, we have the application server, as you can see it here. And I can see that the minute that this server is being attacked, and I can see in a fraction of a second, this executable file used by this user is downloading around 11.6 megabytes of traffic in fractions of a second, and it turned out to be a denial of service attack to one of these servers. And the user doesn't know if this is happening on his desktop or not. And the question now, I know that svchost.exe is a common name for Windows, but the attack or the malware creator actually is renaming his executable file to be one of the well-known Microsoft executable file, svchost.exe, to be outside of the antivirus detection or whatsoever. So you can see here the end-to-end attack is being spotted, is being seen, Who else is being affected? Nobody in this case, but if we have the same, this executable file, you will find here nicely another line is being targeted to another server in our infrastructure. So how we are working? Nexthink actually is, as I said, we don't like to introduce a complexity when it comes to the endpoint. The endpoint by itself, it's very complex. It's very dynamic. We would like to be, as much as we can, very light at the endpoint. We would like to introduce a visibility platform into our infrastructure, and we don't like to introduce another issue at the infrastructure. So we have a requirement as a technology to have visibility at the endpoint. We need to know what's happening, or in other words, as we call it every day, the analytics at the endpoint side. And in this side, we need to be more simple in terms of whatever happening at the endpoint side, because at the end of the day, we need to get sure that the users doesn't suffer from any performance issue. So for that, our architecture is very simple. We have a 3-component architecture. We have a component that sits at the endpoint side. We call it Nexthink Collector. This one is installed in every desktop. And you know, now, I know some of you is saying, okay, you will install at the end of the day an agent over my desktop. But in this case, it's not an agent. It's a collector. It's like a broker at your endpoint, sits on the kernel, very minimal resource consumption in terms of the CPU. As you can see, 0.1% CPU usage in average, 0.15 kilobit per second a network. We are taking less than the Windows calculator in terms of the RAM or the memory usage itself, or the size of the collector itself, 500 KB, and it's a very passive driver. You just install it, you deploy it, and forget it. You don't need to go and revisit the collector if you would like to collect another parameter. So it's one side, one-way operation, and it's zero configuration. You don't need to do any configuration at the collector. It's done at the time of the deployment, and that's it. And it's very light in terms of the resources. We install the collector over a very sensitive devices and sensitive component at the infrastructure, and a very light connection from the network side, and it works perfectly. And the collector, from its function, it will collect from the thousands of desktops that you have inside your infrastructure, and it will collect everything to the Nexthink engine. Nexthink engine is an artificial intelligence or analytics tool or platform that collects whatever happening at the endpoint side in one-way secure communication, and puts everything in a very nice in-memory database, very fast database, to do a real-time analytics over whatever happening at the endpoint side. So here, centrally speaking, you can see that whatever happening at the endpoints in your infrastructure from a very centralized view, a single pane of glass that's giving you whatever happening at the endpoint side. You have an intelligence component, which is the engine, a very nice, fast database that's collecting all the events that's happening from the endpoint side. And as I said, in a very centralized view. And we, as administrator, we have a couple of tools to go over the database and see what's happening. It's the same information, but in different presentation. We have the Finder and the Portal, or Nexthink Finder and Nexthink Portal. The Nexthink Finder is more into analytics and see everything in real time. And we have the Nexthink Portal, which is a presentation or a dashboard generating reports for our infrastructure that we have inside the place. So that's the introduction slide for Nexthink. Now I'm going to launch for you the Nexthink demo. And the demo here, we believe that the seeing is believing. That's why I'm going to show you a couple of cases that's happening to one of our infrastructure, but this information is anonymized information. As you can see, and I believe the security, when it comes to security, you have to be very fast. A lot of attacks, the organizations are missing it because they are not fast. they are very late in the detection. That's why they cannot see what's happening or the spread of the malware or whatever the attack is being happening, and we don't know because we don't have a back-end fast or quick platform, analytics platform that's seeing what's happening at the endpoint side. So what you can see here, that Nextthink is firing by itself that I have in 17 hours ago, and because this database is cutted 17 hours ago, but if this database is live database, you will find 1 second ago or even less than that, because Nextthink is a real-time solution. So you can see that 4 desktops at that point of time, they have dangerous activities detected over this desktop. And in a single click, and here see how fast we are in our in-memory database, I can see the 4 desktops that they have with their properties that they have, or there is a malware living over these 4 desktops. And here the first thing that I can do, that I can go to these desktops without further investigation to tell the security team, guys, we found here that we have 4 desktops. We are suspecting to have a malware over them, so we can put a network access control over these 4 devices to limit them from our network. But before we do that, we need to know more details about these 4 desktops. So what I'm going to do now, in 1 click, I would like to know what kind of dangerous binaries, or in other words, executable files that are living in these 4 desktops. And in 1 click, Nextthink here gives me the executable name, which is in our case here, it's sendme.exe. It has a specific version, a hash value, and other parameters. And you can see here at the end here that Nextthink is highlighting that this one has a threat level high. And here the question is, how Nextthink categorizes such executable file in real time once it's being executed in these 4 desktops as high. And here, thanks to our integration with VirusTotal, that's telling us that this executable file with certain hash value and certain path of the executable file, that this malware is categorized as high or intermediate or low. The VirusTotal, as you know, we are using VirusTotal as our threat intelligence tool, and this is something very, very important. And the VirusTotal has more than 50 plus antivirus engines. So if you are depending on any security vendor in terms of antivirus protection, we are complementing the antivirus protection at your end. But having such executable file, which is dangerous, makes the things suspicious. But having such executable file that's communicating over my network or over externally and going over the internet, leaking information or communicating with command and control server, that's making the things more and more suspicious. You can see here 4 desktops are being used by 4 users. They are using the application called sendme.exe over a port number 80, which is usually open from our firewalls, and we are skipping this this port number because it's HTTP. It has to go through our proxy or our internet, and they are going to access a public IP address, and more specifically, because of visibility of Nextthink, we can see even the domain that these users are accessing. And in this case, they are accessing OneDrive.com. And if you see the behavior of this executable file, which is a malware actually, the behavior that's sending some information from every 1 hour or every, as you can see here, every 1 hour is sending some traffic to outside, which is actually this is actually a malware behavior existing in 4 desktops initially. Only one version is communicating over an open port number over external IP address going to external drive. And the first thing here I would like to know, okay, let's visit one of these desktops. Let's see what happened actually to this desktop that makes it infected by this virus or this malware, And we have such a scenario actually. And here, if I go to the device view, here's actually Nexthink. It shows to you what happened in every desktop in your infrastructure in something like a movie. You can see here the timeline, and you can go back and forward in the timeline, so you can see what happened before, and you can analyze what's happening. And this actually the analytics to see what's happening, connect the dots between different things inside your infrastructure or whatever happening at the endpoint, and you link the things to see what happened. And here the system, as you can see, it given to us multiple things. One of the things here that this user, the dangerous activity started at that point of time. But at the same time, as you can see, the user has installed a package called ProToolBar. And this ProToolBar, actually, he may be executing that because, or installed that actually because he downloaded a browser or whatever application that's he passed through next, and immediately he got to the package toolbar. He said, okay, I'm going, and this is the people. These are the business users who are dealing with every day. They are actually, they are not IT guys. They don't know anything about security, and they agree on anything. And as you can see here, Nexthink at the same time highlighted another fact. The fact is that this user has executed this package installation with a user having an admin privilege. And a user here having an admin privilege installed a ProToolBar and having a new binaries and a new executable file, one called setup.exe and the other one called sendme.exe. So it seems here the package installation for sure installed or released two components, one called setup.exe and then another one called sendme.exe, that makes us having such a scenario. As you can see here, if I go over the web activity, I can see that this executable files, sendme.exe or setup.exe, again communicating over port 80, one of them to OneDrive.com and the other one going to secure rocketdigo.com, whatever the domain is that the attacker is using it to leak the information. And we can know actually more information about the domain. As you can see again, that this domain by itself is highlighted at a threat level high. It's a malicious domain as categorized by our threat intelligence library. So you can see that this executable file, sendme.exe, is even communicating with a domain that's a malicious domain and high threat level domain as categorized. So here we have a user. We have actually all the qualifications of having a malware. We have a user who have an admin privilege, executed one executable file, communicating over the internet, over an unsecured domain. And here actually, if we go back here to the to sendme.exe, or actually the setup.exe, yes, this screen, sendme.exe and setup.exe, and let's see how the users are accessing or install the setup.exe or install this application. And here, Nexthink, it has a lot of information, but how you are going to use it, or how you are going to, when you need it, actually, you would like to ask about it. And I'm going here to tell Nexthink, show me the path of these files, where this file is executed on this machine. And once I click apply, I found a very interesting thing, that setup.exe is being executed from removable drive. That makes the story more worst. That I have now a sendme.exe communicating over the internet, over an unsecured domain. It's being executed initially by USB flash memory, and this one located over 4 devices as of now. And immediately these 4 devices they will start to communicate over the internet, and we have here the dangerous activity and how these executable files are being executed. So here, that's a very nice story, but here everyone will think about one thing. Okay, we have invested actually to have an antivirus protection inside our organization. So sendme.exe, can we see the desktops again that's having sendme.exe? And once I do drill down here to see the 4 desktops that they have the sendme.exe, I'll tell Nexthink, okay, in terms of security, can you tell me some security information? And I mean here, I would like to know the antivirus display name that's being installed on these desktops. Is the real-time protection is on or off? And I would like to know, is it up to date or not? And we have other security questions, and here I don't like to go over them, but you can see here all the protection tools that you are trying, the common ones, they are trying to install it in your endpoints. You can monitor their health immediately from Nextthink as part of your compliance, as part of your reporting. So you are not depending on the vendor and the reporting of the vendor itself. You are depending on a third-party platform, analytics one, that connecting the dots between whatever you see from your management side of the antivirus or any protection tool and the Nextthink itself, which is the analytics platform. So here, this simple question, 3 questions that I believe, if without Nextthink, if I would like to ask or to know this information, I would like actually to visit these 4 desktops and know what kind of display of antivirus that they have. Is it on or off or up to date? It will take a lot of time. And once I do that, apply, I can see a very nice thing, that actually these 4 desktops, actually, they have the corporate antivirus, which is Microsoft's Fortify. It's enabled, it's on, and their antivirus is up to date. So everything is fantastic. So the question now, why sendMedia.exe is being executed? And here, actually, we are going to visit our threat library, which is VirusTool. You can see the sendMedia.exe is being detected by 16 antivirus out of 46, and this is the last analysis date. I don't like to go over all the details, but you can see here all the antivirus vendor they are saying that this one is a malware. For example, here McAfee is saying it's such a malware, it has such a complex name. The band is saying that Semantic, for example, is saying it's a Trojan. But let's see the Microsoft Forefront. And the interesting thing here, if we go down to Microsoft Forefront, we found that Microsoft Forefront is saying that this file is not detected. That's nice. And that's actually, we are not saying here that Microsoft Forefront is a bad antivirus. It's not. This is actually the dilemma of the antivirus vendors, that some vendors actually, they are detecting things before the others. So if you uninstall Microsoft Forefront and put Semantic, you will catch something. Uninstall Semantic and put Microsoft Forefront, you will catch a new things. So the point here, you need a complementary thing for your protection tools that you have inside the place. At Nextthink, with the integration of VirusTotal, it provides this function immediately. So here we know the spread of the malware, we know with whom it's communicating, how it's being installed initially over USB flash memory, and how it's being not detected from our antivirus protection tools, as you can see it here. And actually, if I'm going to tackle Nextthink here from a different perspective, that Nextthink actually, we can do multiple reporting. And I'm going to give you an example here over our portal that you can access from any browser, as you can see it here. The Boodle attack that's happening 2 days ago. You can see, you wake up in the morning, you found a new attack that's happening, and you would like to know if my infrastructure is vulnerable or not. I would like to answer that in minutes. And here in Nextthink, it's just something you need to import it in your portal, and it takes 1 minute, and immediately it will scan your environment, which applications are vulnerable to have or connecting to a Boodle or something enabled with SSL 2.0 or 3.0 attacks, either internally or externally. You know the domains, you know even the users that they have inside the place. And Nextthink, actually, we have built a lot of rules, a lot of protection and the mechanism actually to detect the behavior of the users, either behavioral of the desktop itself or several desktops. For example, here, if I have any data leakage from the user, so I can see here, for example, some users are printing locally, which is considered in some organization as a leakage of the information. So immediately Nextthink can spot that and can highlight an alert with the name of the users. Or for example, we can tell you some of the indicator of compromise. So for example here, if you have an abnormal outgoing SMTP traffic, we know how Nextthink is detecting the things from signature detection, which is the threat library or the virus total, but we can look at the behavior of the malwares. And here it comes into the zero-day attacks, or the attacks is not listed yet in the virus total. So you can see here, for example, if I have one user in Europe, he has abnormal outgoing SMTP traffic, or another one has application with suspicious DNS traffic, and we can investigate into that to know who are the users, and we can tell, for example, these all hyperlinks to know that this, for example, here executable file called again svchost.exe. And we have multiple controls. I don't like to go over them, but here we can serve actually as ISO compliance or PCI DSS, as an antivirus assessment for your antivirus status, or for example here for the admin rights that are living in your infrastructure. How many of the users we have an admin, and more importantly, how the users are using any admin privilege inside my infrastructure. I can search here for any user inside my infrastructure, any user, for example, Mike, for example, and immediately if I have inside the database, immediately I'll have an output about Mike, or yes, we have one here. Yes, so for example here, any user, I can tell from a simple click what this user, so for example here, this user is logging over 2 desktops and using a 42 application or executable file to go either from over the internet or over internally. I can see the network or the web activity. What I'm trying to say here, that you have an analytics platform that's being supported over the Windows, over the Mac, over the mobile, to see all the activities over the desktops and the solution for your visibility. So enough with the demo. I'll go over some slides. I don't know if we have questions right now or not. We don't know. We don't have right now. Yes. Okay. Excellent. So again, as I said, I don't like to go over multiple slides, but I'll show some slides over the integration of Nextthink with different solutions inside your infrastructure. But before we do that, we just a recap whatever we said. Nextthink can help in different things in the analytics, in the proactive detection for any indicator of compromise, like this rogue destination, port numbers that are not typically used by an application, privilege abuse. As we are a real time, we do immediately a continuous validation for whatever happening in terms of compliance and your policy. At the end of the day, you would like to keep your policy on over all your endpoints. You need to get sure that everyone has this specific version from the application. Everyone has the correct application of the antivirus. All the antivirus are being updated correctly from my internal antivirus, not from externally. I would like to know all that. And sometimes we have an attacks on the news, and we would like to know, is our infrastructure for the past year is being affected by such an attack or not? If we have an attack that's happening now, it happened before a year from now or not. And that's actually the retrospective analysis of the attack or any breach that's happening inside our infrastructure. So these 3 layers, the proactive detection, the continuous validation, and the retrospective analysis, it gives the analytics platform over any security team which is needed. A little bit about Nextthink, and I believe it's late, but I don't like to make it a marketing webinar. It's a more into technical webinar and seeing the things. But it's worth to mention that Nextthink, we started 10 years back. We started as the innovation in EPFL University in Switzerland. It was an artificial intelligence project for our CEO, and we filed at then 2 patents regarding artificial intelligence and detecting abnormal behavior. And we have a very, very good success inside the Middle East region or all our regions. The rest are marketing. I don't like to go over ROI, but mostly the ROI for Nexthink, especially in security, it comes in less than 3 months or a quarter of operation in terms of compliance and detection, the attacks, or going over your policy and detecting the and working over security projects as we're going to see in the upcoming slides. So the analytics area, or the IT operation analytics area, actually is serving 3 areas into our infrastructure. Mainly the security that we are tackling today. The ITSM transformation will be tackled by my colleagues in the upcoming 2 days. If you are a Gartner or Forrester fan, you can find these IT operation analytics now. The market actually is recognizing such name or such definition, IT operation analytics, and it's a new market being recognized. And Nexthink is one of the key players as ITOA solution at the endpoint side. You can refer to the Well Capelli Gartner researcher. You will find a lot of Gartner research about the IT operation analytics and the future of IT operation analytics, and is one of the key features, especially in security analytics as whole, in security when it comes to the endpoints or over an infrastructure. Again, Nexthink, it's a visibility at the endpoints, is doing analytics at the endpoint, but at the end of the day, it can help you in multiple security projects. It can help you in doing some operation project, either to enhance, starting from enhancing your security tools, doing the SOC and NOC, how to empower your SOC and NOC, how to help the support and help desk team. At the end of the day, as I said at the beginning, security is a business enabler. I know support and help desk, they are in different areas, but at the end of the day, we receive support tickets that's into performance, but at the end of the day, the root cause is a security. The root cause is a malware that's being infecting some desktops, and the initial symptoms is a performance to one of our desktops. So you can see the change in configuration management and the compliance, the projects, new security tools that you are going to deploy, network admission controls, for example, which rules you would like to apply, the DLP, if you are going to do analysis or analytics about your departments and which departments are the most leaking for your information. So you can start by your DLP project by these departments, more rules over them than the others, because you have a visibility or more analysis about how the users are behaving. That's why you have deployed a better protection rules. At the end of the day, any protection rules is plan, do, check, act, and we help a lot in reinforcing this cycle to be done inside your organization. Plan, do, check, act all over the day. So in terms of integration, we have multiple integrations. As I said, the integration is open protocol. You can integrate with different solutions inside your infrastructure, starting by your SIEM solution, your DLP, your HIST IPS, your encryption protocol, network admission control. So one thing to mention, we have integration with multiple vendors in the security side or the IT operation analytics, like Splunk or the HP ArcSight, the IBM, the Symantec, the SIEM solutions, which is giving you the 360-degree visibility, including the endpoint side itself. This is one of the snapshots of the integrations with multiple security vendors that we have inside the place. Mainly, we have integration as a SIEM solution with Splunk as its analytics tool, but we have other integration with the SCCM, which is actually comes not only in the operation, which is helping actually the security team to uninstall any malware that's happening. So the same media.exe, we can installing it automatically using the SCCM, and thanks to our native integration with the SCCM, we can do it immediately. Last thing to mention, the SIEM. The SIEM is as strong as the visibility. So if you don't have a visibility from your SIEM about your endpoints, what's happening at the endpoint, your SIEM will be weak. because you will not be able to do enough correlation about all the events happening into the infrastructure. So what we do here, that we empower the NSM solution by the important metrics at the endpoint, and we feed it in real time, so the same tool will be empowered by the user behavior, the user misbehavior, the application behavior and misbehavior, and immediately will act according to the other logs that he is receiving from the other devices in the network. It's a very, very essential to get into consideration the endpoints, and the SIM, most of the projects at the SIM are getting delayed, are getting no value because we don't have enough correlation, and especially from the endpoint side. I would like to thank you. I'm pretty much done with the presentation and the demo. I hope it was informative for you. And the objective here is to give you an idea about Nextthink and how Nextthink is working in terms of security and in terms of IT operation analytics. If you have any question, please pass it over the GoToMeeting, and I'll answer you immediately here. So I believe no questions right now. Okay, so that will conclude the meeting. So I would like to thank you again, and have a nice day. Thank you.